All right, what is up, Inner Circle family? Excited to be with you guys for week number 6. Hopefully my controls are working here. I think we're good to go. Anyway, listen, I got to tell you, I've been pumped up all day long to deliver this content. Have been talking with Trish and Ruth, and definitely have some powerful stuff here for you this week. And so we're going to dive in first into the social recruiting system. Trish and Ruth are really going to dive into the R phase of the CARE method. And so lots of quality content. Make sure you've got a pen and paper. So you're taking notes. Of course, you can rewatch this as often as you like, as many times as you like. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig deep into a leadership framework that has allowed me to build a lot of powerful leaders over the course of the past 20 years. And it is a topic that honestly, in my early days of being successful as a networker, there was a lot of confusion around it. There was a lot of just kind of mystery around leadership. And I do believe there is a lot of work that needs to be done in our profession, and you're going to get some very cool insights on the leadership side. So pumped for you guys. So without further ado, we'll turn it over to Ruth and Trisha. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Matt. We are so excited to be here this evening because we're going to be talking about relationships, as Matt said. And it's one of those things when I first started building online that I was really uncomfortable with. I never knew what to say or where to take the conversation or really how to create that relationship and trust. So today we're going to be diving into a lot of details to help you navigate that so that you can create those relationships really with ease. So I'm going to be the screen sharer tonight. So just give me a moment here.
Yeah, I'm excited for this too. This is something that's been a game changer for us. All right. I hope everybody is having a great week so far.
Okay, so let's get going. So today we're going to be talking about relationship, mastering that relationship phase after you've kind of connected with someone on social media.
All right, so we are going to dive right in here, guys. We've got 5 simple steps to master the relationship. So here's a little bit about what we're going to be covering tonight. 1, we're going to be talking about follow-up, right? So following up with those leads that you're getting in Messenger and through direct messages.
And then we're going to be talking about inviting to a call. So getting to know your prospect really on a deeper level, either on a video call or a phone call or even a Facebook Messenger call.
Next, number 3, we're going to be talking about conducting the call, right? So it's great that you get these calls set up, but you want to know how to conduct the call so that you can be relaxed, that you don't come off really weird to that prospect that you're talking to, because sometimes I know that's what happens. We get talking with people and it just get weird.
And the next is the invitation. So it's an invitation for your prospect to either see information about a product or your opportunity. So really using the tools.
And then lastly, we're going to be talking about how to conduct a 3-way call, because this is a process that's really important, and knowing these steps of what to do with a prospect so that you're going to be more likely to be getting them to say yes. All right, so first we're going to be diving into the follow-up on Messenger and direct message. Oops. There we go. So think about this. We talked about, you guys have heard us talk about over the last couple of weeks about getting content out on social media where you're attracting that avatar, you're attracting that person who is going to, be commenting on your post, be reaching out to you. And now what we want to do is talk to you about what to do next with this person, because what that's done for you is it's generated a lead or leads, and your new lead is now a prospect for you, for either your product or your business, depending on, exactly, which direction you've been taking and what content you've been putting out there. And the cool thing about this is now they know who you are and they've reached out and you've started having this conversation with them. So we're going to really talk about this because, you know, they could have just responded to a post, right? It could be a story. It could also be that they have followed that call to action that you put out there. So Ruth and I are going to cover a variety of ways tonight. And what we're going to cover, it's really going to allow you to, you know, or really you're going to need to think logically on it, because it's not going to be the same exact steps every single time, because we're going to give you kind of all the scenarios, and you're going to be able to pick and choose which scenarios are going to work best for the situation you're in with your prospect.
So here's what you can respond with. So if you are not connected with the person on social media yet, so you're not Facebook friends, you're not a follower on Instagram, you're not following each other, or the same thing on TikTok, you're not following each other, depending on the platform that you're using, if they comment on one of your posts, the first thing you're going to want to do is comment back to them. So in the comments, you're going to say, hey, you know, use their first name. Thanks so much for reaching out about whatever your post is about. I'd love to give you more information. If you wouldn't mind, send me a message and share with me a little bit more about what you found interesting about my post. Now, the reason that this is important is, first of all, it's connecting back with the person who was looking for information. That's obvious. But also, you're prompting that person to send you a message, because in a direct message, so either Facebook Messenger or Instagram DMs and so on. The reason that's important is if they send you a message, you're going to see it. If you just like flat out send them a direct message without being friends or followers, it's going to end up in this other inbox, and they'll likely never see it. So it's really important to ask them to reach out to you first in Messenger, and then you're going to be in each other's inbox and you'll see each other's messages. So that's a really important sort of thing to know about the way Messenger works.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Ruth, because I know, you know, it depends sometimes too, whether you're on your phone or whether you're on, you know, your desktop, that you'll have this other message. And sometimes it's not always obvious that you've got these other messenger requests. So if you can, you know, become friends with them first, then you don't even have to worry about that part. So now that you are able to send a message with them, right, because you have friended them or you've somehow connected, you can send this message in Messenger and they're actually going to receive it, right? And what Ruth and I both love to do is we really love to leave voice messages, right? So a quick little voice message to me is way better than a written message, because then people know you're real and you can hear in your tonality, your message. You know, sometimes things get taken not always the way you intend them to be taken when you're leaving just a written message. So being able to leave a voice message helps with that. But you can say something along the lines, you know, that, let them know that you look forward to getting to know them and helping them with whatever it is that they're looking for. Remember, whatever it was from the post. It's because a lot of times people too respond to a lot of posts and they're not always going to know, you know, which post it is. So if you're letting them know what it was, that kind of attracted them. If they respond to you, you can start asking questions to pre-qualify them and also to get more specific with what it is that they're looking for. And this is going to build the know, like, and trust. And it's also going to eliminate some of the lesser qualified people, because if they're not going to respond to you, you don't need to worry about them anymore, right? If they're not going to respond to you. But what it also does is allows them to know that, you know, you actually care about them, right? We've talked about this before. And because when you're asking the questions, you're making it about them and not about you. And that is definitely more attractive to the person as well. And they're going to be much more likely to respond when you can start building the rapport that way.
Now, if you're already connected, so you're already Facebook friends or you're following each other on one of the other social media platforms, then just comment back, hey, person's name, I'll send you a direct message. So that's actually in the comments. Then you can take the conversation directly into Messenger and it will actually show in their inbox. And you can use the same sort of lingo that Trish had outlined. It's the same sort of thing, but you can then comment, you can message them directly then.
All right. All right. So now the big thing is if they respond, right? And obviously this is what you're looking for. But I remember when I first got started and, we would, well, first of all, when we first got started, we would send these spammy messages. But even when we got better, you'll have a lot of people who might comment for more information. And what you're going to find is a lot of people aren't going to respond. It's okay, right? But when you get better at this and when you really get dialed into that avatar, you will find the percentage of people who start responding back is definitely going to be much greater. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start to get curious with them, right? You want to ask your prospects some relevant questions to get more information about what specifically they're looking for. Okay. And so I like, again, we've used weight loss as an example a lot because it's just an easy one. But, really finding out, what is it you're looking for? Are you looking to lose weight? Have you, struggled with weight in the past? Are you, someone who, has gone up and down? Like based on what they give you back as answers, you can start asking more and more questions. And again, keeping it about them. But your goal is ultimately to really help this person with whatever it is that they're struggling with or looking for. So you really have to make sure that you're asking questions in order to give the best recommendations. You don't want to go into, oh, they responded, let me just send a link, right? No, you don't even know what part it is that they're looking for. And even if it's on the business side, are they truly looking for a business? Are they, just are they looking for a hobby? Like you have no idea if you're not asking questions. So one thing about this is you don't want to rush the process, right? You don't want to be really quick to ask and then try to, send them your information and get them to sign up. But at the same time, you don't want it to take so long that you never convert these people. So it's just really kind of finding that happy medium and having a short conversation that creates some trust. And by asking the questions, you're going to be able to create a lot more trust. And we'll cover a little bit more of that in a minute, but really keeping it short, but yet friendly and yet at the same time conversational.
I love that point, Trish, because one of the things I did back in the very beginning when I just had a few leads coming in is I let those conversations run on and on and on because I was so afraid they would say no. And I felt like, I had something there. But you want to pre-qualify people pretty quickly while still creating rapport. So don't be afraid to let them go either if they're not the right person. So we also like to use feel, felt, found because it creates more relatability. So if they, kind of say to you, again, in Trisha's example of weight loss, I've been struggling with weight loss for years. I go up and down like a yo-yo. Maybe you had that same experience, right? And you could say something like, I know exactly how you feel. I get it. Use their name. Use people's name a lot because it creates a more personal conversation. So I know exactly how you feel. I felt that way too, but I found that, and then say what you found, whether it was using your products or your service, that I was able to improve this result by doing this. So that feel, felt, found really creates that relatability.
Yeah, and I love feel, felt, found because I really feel like you can use it in almost any scenario. And the key though, guys, is be authentic, right? If you can't relate to them, don't lie and say that you can. Like make sure that whatever you share is very authentic to you. So next, what you really want to do would be to, have this short conversation. And then what you can do is invite them into a Zoom or a call to get them to know them a little bit better using the following script. Okay. And this is something I love to do. In fact, I will offer this up kind of quickly with people because I want to know how serious are they about getting results and whatever it is that they're looking for. And, I know that it's something in the beginning I was a little nervous to do, but since really getting to the point in doing this with people, I'm able to get a lot more people on Zoom a lot faster and have good conversations. So again, like Ruth said, you want to use their name. Everybody loves to hear the sound of their name, especially when you say it correctly. but you'd say their name and, hey, would you mind if we hopped on a quick Zoom or call so I can get a better idea of what specifically it is that you're looking for. Another thing I like to say is, gosh, I'd love to make sure I can answer all your questions at one time. Would you like to hop on a Zoom? That way we can, I can find out exactly what it is and I'll know what recommendations to give for you, or I'll know which way to guide you. Make it be your language, but something along the lines here. And so once they agree what you want to do, is then you want to offer a third-party resource to them, right? So if you feel they were clear on, what exactly it is that they're looking for, then you might be able to give a resource to them that they could maybe watch before the meeting. Now, this time, or this thing here, as you saw, it's got an asterisk next to it. Sometimes we don't always have something to send right to them, but there are a lot of times that we can give them a resource first. And again, it's another way to really pre-qualify people, because if they take the time to look at this resource and then still hop on with you, then they're probably a pretty qualified person. They're going to be pretty serious. If they don't take the time to look, they might not be as interested. Now, it's not always the case, but this is one of those areas that, you're just going to have to test. It might just depend on the situation. It might depend on the person you're talking to, because sometimes people are just ready to hop on and sign up with you. And sometimes they need a little more time, a little more information, right? So just remember, though, that the purpose of getting people on a call or Zoom is to get to know a little bit more about them. It creates more trust. It allows you to answer questions about the resource that you sent, if you did send one, but also to provide that best solution for them. And I know for both Ruth and I, what we have found is when we can, the faster we can get someone on a Zoom, the faster we can typically get them to sign up. Because once they meet us and realize that, hey, we are real, we actually do care, because we're not trying to sell them on this call, we're really truly getting more information to know more about them. They feel that genuineness that you have, and that you really are a real person. And it really builds that trust up. And even if they aren't quite ready to sign up, you're now really going to be that point of mind for them, that when the time comes, they're going to remember this conversation. They're going to know, that you're there as that resource for them.
One of the things I noticed about this was in terms of when to send the resource, typically what I see is we can send product resources pretty quickly without turning people off, and then hopping on a Zoom just to answer questions. So that's kind of the customer side. But when we're talking about getting a new business partner, and maybe you're brand new on social media and you haven't had time to build influence yet, you generally need that first Zoom call just to get to know people and warm them up and create that trust more. Now, once you've got an established brand on social media, then you can, it's a little bit easier to send a person right to a resource and then just bring them to Zoom to answer questions. So typically when you're getting started, you're probably doing a quick Zoom call first.
Yeah, great point.
So here we go. Now the Zoom call. And I remember my first Zoom call with a prospect. Oh my gosh, I was so nervous. It was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? But just relax and breathe and remember you're just speaking to another human being who, by the way, reached out to you, right? They were curious about something. They were curious about a post or something that you shared on social media. So just relax and just be normal and have that conversation to find out what they're really looking for. So the call is really, it's not a sales pitch, okay? It's more about being curious, finding out what they're looking for. But that being said, always listen for buying signals. Meaning if someone flat out says, in Trisha's example, I need to lose weight and I just need something, I'm ready to go, and sign them up, right? So when you're getting those clear buying signals, then move the process along faster. If you're not, then continue with the steps that we're going to show you.
So this is really important. We're going to go into this conversation in a minute and how the conversation should look. But one of the things that's really, really important when you're doing this is something called ask versus tell. Okay. And I know back in my very beginning days, I did a lot more telling instead of asking. And I'm sure I talked myself out of many, many sales because of it. The other thing is when you're doing a lot of telling, like, think about it. How many people really like to be told what to do, right? Not a lot of people. But when you can be asking questions, what's going to happen is people can start making the decision for themselves and based on the questions that you're asking. So, the secret to recruiting and selling more product is getting good at asking questions and really listening to what they have to say to you. Because based on what they share with you, it's going to lead you to know what to ask next, right? And that's super important. If you're already thinking about the next question you're going to ask and you're not listening to what they're saying, you're going to ask a question potentially that's not even relevant to, what exactly it is that they're looking for. So just remember, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? So that you can be listening more and talking less. And again, people really like to feel heard. People like to, they don't, like we said here, people are dying to be heard and not told what to do. And that is so, so true. They want to be able to figure it out for themselves. And when you can walk them through this process and ask questions in a way that they're going, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then what's going to happen is they're going to talk themselves right into the sale for you. And that makes it super simple because then you're almost not even asking for the sale. It just makes it so easy. You're like, okay, well, are you ready to go ahead and get started? And, you can sign them right up. So just really focus on the asking and listening versus the telling.
So we like to say use CASH as your guide. So what does CASH stand for? It's an acronym. Compliment, ask questions, find similarities, and help them. So if you're stuck with what to say with your prospects, I know when I first started asking questions, it was like, oh, what questions should I ask? We're going to give you a list of them around CASH to really help you ask questions with ease, right? And keep the conversation flowing like a normal, like you would have with a friend, right? So first of all, compliment. We want to compliment people. Find something to compliment them about. And when in doubt, go check their social media and just scroll down their profile and their timeline. Maybe they've got cute kids, or maybe they have a dog, or maybe they just took a trip, or maybe they've got nice hair. Find something to compliment them on, just to create that rapport, that kind of friendship. It makes people feel good. And then you can move on to some of the other questions.
And Ruth, I love how you said this too, starting with the compliment, because, you and I both, we use this all the time. And when you really start doing this and get good at it, you'll be able to talk to anybody without it feeling awkward. Like you will, can talk to perfect strangers all day long and it will feel comfortable. And within minutes, they'll be telling you their life story. Like they just do, because it builds trust so quickly. The second one is A, right, for asking questions. So some of the questions that you can be talking about to be getting some information are about their occupation or some family questions, right? So, what do they do for a living? One thing I was told by a mentor a long time ago was he always said, ask them what they do for a career or what do they do for a living. Don't always, refer to it as a job for them. That, people, take pride in what it is they do. Even if they say they don't like it, they do take pride and they don't ever want someone else putting it down. So asking them what they do for a living, getting into, how long they've been doing that, again, to find out a little bit more about them. What do they love about what they do? What don't they love? Another question I love to ask is, if there was one thing you could change about what it is you do, what would it be? And that way, again, you're not putting a negative context on it. They're answering honestly. Do they commute or do they work from home? If they commute, how far is their commute? How long does it take them to get to work? Because remember too, time is a big thing that people always say that they don't have. And so again, when you're asking these questions, the purpose of this is so that you can be finding a solution for them, right? It's to really find their pain points, to really figure out, the struggle that they have, so that again, when you come back with something, it's going to be a true solution, but you're going to be able to word it in a way that they really have that aha moment that it is a solution. Again, do they have kids? Do they have grandkids? Who takes care of their kids while they're working? How old are their kids? Are they boys? Are they girls? The questions can go on and on, based on, the answers that they give you and what you could then say.
Next is you can ask questions around recreation and lifestyle as well. What do they do for fun? Do they have hobbies? Do they play sports? Do they travel? Where do they go on vacation? When was their last vacation? There's usually a clue in that. So just about lifestyle. And again, you're looking for, potential struggle areas, and you're looking for things that you can be relatable with as well. So have some commonalities with.
Ruth, I love that one when you said the vacation, because you're so right. I don't know how many times we've talked to people and they're like, I just want to take my family on a vacation. We haven't done this or we haven't done that. And you always can get so many good answers with that question. Some other ones are the dream questions. Now, I love these because, what we have found in this industry a lot is people have lost the ability to dream. They have forgot what it's like to dream. And so, finding out what really gets them excited, to get up in the morning. What are their dreams? Like if they could, in a perfect world and waving a magic wand, what would they be doing with their life? What would it look like? Where are they living? What are they enjoying? What is it, that they're doing on a daily basis that's making them happy, and then finding out what's it going to take, to get them to these places.
So with this dream question, you can also use it around product related questions as well. So I love that. I use it all the time. If I had a realistic magic wand and could wave it, where do you see yourself 2 years from now? Or how do you see your body 2 years from now or a year from now, right? That would be someone who had to lose weight. Or how do you see yourself feeling about, the way you look 2 years from now? So the dream question is important because it also helps your prospect identify that they have a gap. They've got a gap between the struggle they're in today and where they want to be. And when they realize that their gap, that's a really big key to having them want to have either your product or your opportunity.
So next, it's about finding those similarities, right? So this is one of the things too, we like to maybe call match and mirror. You can call it a bunch of different things. But when you've done some digging, now you want to find some similarities because it's going to help you build a rapport with that prospect, right? So for instance, when you think about, going back to, do you have kids? And if they, responded, yeah, I've got 2 kids. I said, oh, really? Do you have boys or girls? Oh, I've got girls. Oh, me too. I've got 3 girls. So again, allowing you something to come back with because it's giving you those commonalities. And, it can be a variety of things, when you're talking about their career, depending on what it is, find a similarity. Even if you don't have a similarity, probably somebody does. Like for instance, if somebody came back and said, oh, I'm a computer programmer. I said, oh, really? You know what? That's what my husband does. But just having something to come back because it basically starts bridging that gap from, taking you from being a stranger to, starting to become that friend. And it's really that bridge builds that rapport back and forth. So the more similarities you can find, the more ways you can connect. And I know, Ruth, for you and I, when you and I first started talking, we were just dying laughing because it's like, oh, I'm a CPA. I'm like, I'm a CPA, and then we got talking and, Ruth's like, I've got girls. Well, I have girls. How old are your girls? How many do you have? And, that's when we found out that we, both did triathlons. We both did running races. Like we had all these similarities, and it starts to really build that bond, and it's going to allow those people to remember you better than if you're just some random person who asked a couple of things and didn't take the time to actually start to get to know them.
Love that, Trish. And I love that you brought that up, because it does allow you to remember the person, especially in a sea of social media people that you meet. When you can find a similarity, you go, oh yeah, I remember that person. They had this thing like me. And it'll allow you to stand out. So that similarity is so important. And lastly is the H in cash. It's help them. That's why we're here. We're here to help people, whether it's with our products, our services, or our opportunity. So we talked about identifying the struggle in our questions, and we helped, we were identifying the dream or the desired state or the desired outcome. And now it's time to fill that gap, to bridge that gap. And if you listened closely enough, you'll know exactly what the struggle is and how your product or your opportunity can bridge the gap for the person. So that's when it becomes not really it doesn't even feel salesy. People go, yeah, okay, I need that, right? Because they really realize for themselves that there's something that needs to be bridged if they ever want to get to that desired state. So we're here to help them. We're here to share our products, our opportunity, and fill that gap to help them get to their dream or desired outcome.
So next, it is the invitation, right? So now that you've built some rapport and you've got a clearer understanding of what your prospect is struggling with or looking for and what their ultimate goal is, it's time to invite them to take a look at a resource or maybe some more resources, right? So, if they've already looked at a resource, the invitation could simply be an invitation to get started, now that you've had this conversation with them. Because some people really will be ready to get going, especially, if you have more influence online, like Ruth had mentioned before. But the other thing is now that you've had this conversation with them, it's much easier to identify which resource to send them to. And, it could be a company video, it could be a presentation that you have, it could be, just a product group, like depending on what it is, there's multiple resources you could send, and you'll know, in your business what that is, because, we've got lots of different groups of people here in different companies. But having the resources and then once identifying it is going to allow you to know where to send them next. And then to make sure that, you're setting them up with something that's truly going to help answer the questions. So again, you can, quickly enroll them quicker than you would, because if you're sending them to something that doesn't really make sense, they're not going to take the time to watch more things. So you want to make sure that you get it right the first time, so that you can get them a little bit more interested and get them closer to saying yes.
And I know we've shared this topic before, but I want to reiterate it again because it will really help with your duplication. Share the resource. Don't be the person who explains it all, right? Because the message you're sending your prospect is, oh my gosh, I have to be able to explain all this stuff. So make sure you're using your company's resources, whether it's an opportunity presentation or a product tutorial or whatever you have. And that's showing your prospect that that's all that they have to do. The temptation, I think sometimes when we're new, we're just so excited to have a prospect that we want to tell them everything. Don't do it.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
So here's a little invitation script, and it kind of goes like this. So let me make sure I got this right. Based on what you told me, you're struggling with X, right? And that's important because it shows your prospect that you were truly listening to them. You cared enough to listen to them. So that statement is really, really important. And then you state the desired outcome they want. So in this example of weight loss, based on what you told me, you were struggling with losing the next 10 pounds. And your desired outcome is that you're having a beach holiday and you want to wear a bikini again and feel confident. So that's telling your prospect, okay, you heard them, you took the time to listen, and then you want to bridge the gap with your solution. So I think, product XYZ might help you with that. Would you like me to share some more information about that? Or maybe the person has already seen a resource, they were ready to see a resource. And at that point, you could say, do you have any questions I can answer for you about this product?
Ruth, I just wanted to add one thing too that I didn't really mention before that I do. So I have a small notebook too, and you can do it on a spreadsheet. You can really do it on whatever. But I have a small notebook that I carry around, and every person that I Zoom with, I write their name down, the date that I met with them, and I take some notes on them. And it's funny, recently, I came across some of my old notebooks from even like 4 years ago of notes I had on different prospects. But it makes it easier too when you're talking with them. One, when they see you writing something down, and I'll let a person know, hold on a second, I'm taking a couple of notes. Because one, if you're taking a note too, they feel like you're actually really listening. But two, it might be a few weeks before you guys connect again. Who knows? It might be a couple of days. But especially when you're doing stuff on social media, it can be a lot of people in a short period of time. And if you've got some notes, you're going to remember a little bit more about this prospect. It's going to make your follow-up a lot easier if you've got some of those notes as well. And then also when you come back with that script and you name off everything they told you, they're going to be like, man, this girl is sharp. Like, she got it. She nailed everything I gave her. So I just kind of wanted to add that in there. The next thing is the presentation, right? So once your prospect agrees to see more information, then it's time to share a company resource, like we said. In this way, they can really evaluate the product or the opportunity. And so just remembering too that the tools duplicate, people don't, and sharing that tool again shows your prospect how easy it is to share the business and products with others, again, because then it reminds them they don't need to know everything, that there's tools out there that make it really super simple.
Now, one of the most important things, you've gone through this whole process, right? You've attracted, you posted, you attracted someone, you had a conversation, you got on Zoom, you showed the presentation, and they haven't made a decision yet. So the key is to follow up and have a system to follow up. Some people use notebooks. I use like a little Trello board. Some people use spreadsheets. Have a system of follow up. So when you do sort of part ways with your prospect, let's say you're sending them a tool and some information, always set a time. Always set a time to follow up in that conversation. And it can look like this. When do you think you're going to have a chance to look at the presentation or the information I'm sending? Great. Let's set a time to follow up so I can get your questions answered. Would X time work? So always offer up that time on your calendar. Ask the question, don't leave it wide open, and then say, great, it's on my calendar. I'm also going to let my friend state the person's name. This is going to be your upline or someone that you might bring to a three-way call. If this is particularly a business presentation and you're bringing in a potential business partner, I'm going to let them know we're chatting in case I don't have all the answers to the questions that you're going to ask. She's really awesome, really knowledgeable about the product or business. I know you're going to love her or him. So what that's going to do is, number one, it's going to tell your prospect that the appointment's on the calendar. So you're serious about it and they're less likely to not be a no-show. You're also going to let them know that there's going to be someone who is also kind of waiting to see if questions need to be answered. Another reason why they're more likely to show up to the follow-up call. And lastly, when you do bring your upline or your mentor or your sponsor, whatever, whoever you're going to bring into a three-way call, it's not going to seem weird because you've already sort of prompted your prospect that that was going to happen, that there would be someone else potentially joining in on the call.
I love that. And one thing I just wanted to add a little bit about the follow-up too is it's really, really important to not be attached to the outcome of that conversation. Because, when you're doing things correctly, you got to remember some people are ready to sign up just like that. Some people take a little more time. When you're marketing on social media, there are a lot of times, Ruth and I find this a lot, there are a lot of times that people from other companies will reach out to us. And sometimes they are looking for a new opportunity. Sometimes they're just looking for better social media. It could be a variety of things. And, but what, is super important is that no matter what they say, love them for where they're at. And, be okay with, whatever they decide at the end of that, and then continue to follow up, because what will then happen is even if they weren't ready to join you at that time, you were nice about it, right? A lot of people aren't nice about it. They'll, gosh, you're going with that. That's not good for you, well, good luck, which is not the right way to be, in my opinion. But if you're very supportive, when the time comes, if they really are ready and when they're ready to make that change, if you've done this the right way, they'll come back. And we see that over and over again. It might be 3 months, 6 months, it might be a year, that someone still comes back. But if you really continue to do proper follow-up and don't stay attached to that outcome, eventually the right outcome will come, but others will fill in the gap in between. So next, we are going to talk about that three-way call. So first of all, you might be going, well, what is it, right? Where can it happen and why is this important? And so first of all, a three-way call is super important because you want to make sure that, a lot of times people need a third-party resource, right? They need to meet that third-party person, because when you're talking to people, most of the time, anyone is the expert except you, right? Besides you. And, even Ruth and I, we use each other all the time for three-way calls. As many people as we've personally recruited, we still will put a third party on. It just makes a difference. So, and especially if you're new, it's great because then you can be learning the language and you can be letting your upline do the work for you. Okay. So it's just a way to, get that prospect to now get another person's opinion on what it is that you're doing. Now, we used to always do these just as phone calls, but now almost always I do them as a Zoom now. And I really love them as a Zoom because you get to actually see people's faces. You get to see their expressions. It makes it a lot easier to respond when you can see their face and stuff. So those are, I always try to do a Zoom for a three-way. But if you can't, obviously a phone call works as well. But getting, like I said, getting somebody on to be that expert for you or that third party really can make all the difference in the world, especially if it's a warm market person for you. But even as you're building on social media too, it also just builds more like and trust along the way as well when you can bring in that third party.
I love the three-way call as well because, again, just like using a resource, it shows your prospect that they don't have to know everything. They can rely on someone else in the company to answer all the questions and really do all of the work. So even to this day, Trish and I, we do three-way calls for each other all the time because we know that as we're bringing in new people, it's nice for them to see that they don't need to know everything. So again, duplication and teaching this through your team will allow your team to do the same thing and create that duplication for you. So effective three-way calls, there is actually a process that you go through to effectively do a three-way call. First of all, you want to know how to do it and then prepare for it. So first of all, confirm the time with your prospect the day of the call. So confirm with your prospect and your upline or your sponsor Make sure you have your expert's bio on hand so that you can properly edify them. That edification is so important because it tells your prospect that, hey, they should listen to this person because they know what they're talking about. So that edification, if you don't know how to edify your sponsor or the person doing the call for you, ask them for their bio and just read it. Introduce your prospect, but don't edify them. And now, once you've introduced each other, zip it. Don't say anything, because the minute you interrupt your upline, you've taken them, you've undone all of the edification. You've taken it all away. You've basically thrown them off the stage. So don't ever interrupt unless you're asked a question by your upline.
Yeah, Ruth, that part is so important too, because yeah, I know you and we've had to really train some people on how to do this the right way, because, you know, again, you're bringing this resource in to be helpful to you and to help you out. When you keep interrupting, it does take away their credibility. But one other little thing I just wanted to add here too is when you're doing this. So for instance, as an example, if I was using Ruth as my expert, right, in my case, I would definitely give this great advocation. You know, I'm so excited you're able to meet, you know, one of my friends, my mentors, a leader I work with. Her name is Ruth. And, you know, you're absolutely going to love. She is someone who has risen through the ranks quickly. She's so much fun to hang out with. She definitely will be able to answer your questions. And she has got a heart of gold, you know, really kind of touching all those different personality types. But then what she will do in response is she will then thank me. You know, she would come back and go, you know, thank you, Trish, so much. And, you know, whoever the prospect's name is, you know, you are in great hands. You're so lucky that you met. And so she's going to edify back so that the prospect knows, wow, okay, I've actually connected with a really sharp person in this business. Okay, this is, you know, and it gives, again, it just builds more rapport with that person and definitely a lot more trust. Oops. Here we are. There we go, Matt. You're muted.
Let's see. I guess it helps if I unmute. Amazing. Appreciate you guys. And, you know, just a couple points as I'm, you know, listening to you guys. And I know we've got a lot of people from different, you know, different backgrounds, different levels of success. And I'll just say, when it comes to doing, whether it's a three-way phone call, whether it's your first Zoom call, whatever it is, like I have a rule that I implemented years ago. And I used to just stress myself out so much because I was kind of in like a scarcity mode. And I needed someone. It's like, it's been so long since I've had a sign up. I need this call to go well. And I would stress myself out about it. And so what I eventually learned to do is just have fun with it, have an abundance mentality, understand that it's a sorting game, right? And no matter how effective you are at your invitation, your Zoom call, your three-way phone call, we're not going to sign up everyone. And if we're not going to sign up everyone, and we know we need to do a lot of these, how do you make it fun for you? And so my number one goal when I'm doing any type of recruiting event, it's to have fun. It's to have a good time. And like personally, I think I sign up way more people because I'm just always having fun. And I don't have this attachment to them getting started. And so what you've just gotten is essentially a framework. So you've got a framework for the relationship building side. And there's a lot of amazing content. I mean, I would recommend rewatch this, watch it again, take notes on it, and make sure you're implementing these things. But there's, like everything that we do, there's an art and there's a science. There's an art and science to success in network marketing. The science can be taught, right? It's easy to teach the science, but learning the art can only happen from doing it over and over and over and over. And so what you got to understand is that it's gonna take some practice. You're gonna screw it up. And if you're having fun, at least you're having a good time while you're screwing it up. And I still screw up a lot of things today, but because I'm always having fun, I'm not burning myself out. A lot of times, like what I realized about myself, and this is what I learned from my mentor. So my mentor is on the personality side, super blue, like fun loving, adventurous, like always cutting up and laughing. And he just never gets burned out, and he works crazy hard. He always did, but he was always having fun doing it. And I was the kind of guy who I'm like, I'm going to be successful if it kills me. I'm willing to, you know, crawl through broken glass. And that's not attractive. It really is not. And so people were so attracted to my mentor. It's like, all right, let me just start having some fun. And when I started having fun with it, when I made rule number one is to have fun, I started actually signing up a lot more people. And, you know, so that's just an important lesson. And what I want to go through now is I want to talk about leadership because, you know, in coming into the inner circle, one of the things we talk about is the 3 strategic pillars of success. And so we have your inner game, and we've gone through a lot of mastery as it relates to the inner game. We've got the psychological fuel stacking components. We've got your daily power rituals. We've gone through a vision statement and a core purpose and creating your core values and your affirmations and your questions, how to put your subconscious mind to work to create your desired reality. Like, we've given you so much on the inner game, so much on the social recruiting system, right? All of these different ways to attract people, post live videos, Facebook groups, like so much on the skill side. And so what I want to dive into, and I'm going to go through part of it this week, and I'll go through part of it next week, is the 5 levels of leadership. And I'll tell you, before I share my slides with you, I put this together because I was so confused about leadership. And, you know, if you were to go in the corporate world, you can go to a bunch of different management organizations and leadership organizations. And you could go to EOS, you can go to Stagen. They have, I think it's a $40,000, $50,000 program, Charfin training. There's many, many different leadership organizations where they'll basically take a company, and I've been through a lot of these trainings myself and the companies that I've run. And so in the corporate world, there's a lot of really defined leadership training where this is what you need to be doing every week with your teams. Here's the different levels, and like there's a framework around it. In network marketing, for years and years and years, there was just no framework. And because there was no framework, I said, you know what, if no one's going to create it, I'll create it. Because there's so many books on leadership, and everyone talks about everything rises and falls based on leadership. Okay, that's John Maxwell, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, right? And it's very, very true. And so what happens is, and this is what I did for years, and what many network marketing leaders do, is we read a bunch of different leadership books that don't necessarily apply to network marketing. And then we talk about all these principles, and it is this amazing hodgepodge of leadership stuff. And it's not that it's bad leadership stuff, it's good leadership stuff. There's a lot of good leadership stuff out there. It's just not specific to network marketing. And so what I'm going to go through with you is a framework for leadership, 5 specific levels. And I'm going to break down each level, what it means to be at each level, what you need to focus on, and how you advance from one level to the next. And what this has done for me and my leaders over the years is, because it gives a framework, it's like, okay, now I get it. Like, I understand leadership now. It's not this mysterious thing. So let me share my screen with you, and I'm going to hop into this. And I just believe this is so important for your career. Now, I'm going to share my screen here and pop this up. Okay, so there's 5 different levels of leadership, and hopefully, let's see if for some reason, every time I share my screen, my cursor goes away. So let me see if I can hide the floating meeting controls. There we go. Should be a little cleaner this way. So these are the 5 different levels of leadership in network marketing. Okay, it starts out as a student. Okay, this is when you're new, you haven't enrolled people, or you haven't enrolled very many people. You know, you've got to learn the recruiting techniques and the sales techniques, right? So step 2 is a producer. Okay, this is when you've gotten to be very effective at enrolling other people into your business, very effective at making sales. Okay, The next level is really the first sign of duplication. And this is really the first level of what I would consider to be solid leadership and network marketing. Okay. And I'm going to dissect each one of these. Leader producer. I'm going to go through the first 3 this week, and then I'll go through the last 2 next week. Leader producer is really what I would say the first sign of freedom in network marketing. So leader is duplication, leader producer is really where you get into freedom. And then leader duplicator is when you have leader under leader under leader. This is when you have massive multiplication in your organization. Now, here's the cool thing. There is a formula to go all the way to level 5. I've been all the way to level 5 in 3 different companies over my 20 plus years of being full-time, and I've helped a lot of other people go through all 5 levels of leadership. And so I'm going to demystify leadership. So the question is, how do you advance from one level to the next? Okay, very, very simple. Okay, simply help people get to the level you're at. Okay, by helping people get to where you are, you advance to the next level. Now, some levels, you got to help a lot of people get to this level. In other words, if you want to go from student to producer, I would say you got to get at least 30 people as to student, meaning you've recruited 30 people. So that pushes you from student to producer. Now, to go from producer to leader, you might only help 3 to 6 people become producers, and now you're a leader. Now you've got duplication in your group. You have sales happening in your group with or without you. So it's the first real sign of duplication. How do you get from leader to leader producer? Help 3 to 6. I would say 3 at a minimum. Help 3 people get to the level you're at, and you advance to the next level. And here's the thing. It doesn't require a ton. If you look at the multiple 6-figure a year earners, it's not like they had 10 different lines of sponsorship that became leaders. It's typically a few, 3, 4, 5, maybe. Like I was like over a 13-year period, I had about 9 different organizations that had leader or leader producers and above. Okay. We put in 2.5 million customers, right? And this was the framework that really allowed me to help people get from one level to the next. And so let's hop into each one. And so the first level is student. Now notice that I put a box around student because this is the base of everything. Every level of leadership sits on top of the base of being a student. And so as you advance from one level to the next, you're always a student because student is always the base. Okay. And so here's the thing about being a student is, as a leader, you must fall in love with learning, adopt a fascination with learning. And if you don't value growth, there's essentially 6 human needs. And I'll do a training or a bonus section on this, on the 6 human needs. And one of the human needs is growth. And this must be, I'm just telling you, it must be a huge priority in your life. And if it's not a huge priority, you're not going to grow. So make it a huge priority. Okay. Fall in love with the learning process, because all great leaders are great learners. If you look at the Fortune 500, it's been said so many times that the average Fortune 500 CEO reads 50 books in a year. Okay, I don't know that that's true, but obviously the number came from somewhere. So we know that great leaders throughout history, I mean, if you go back hundreds of years, you'll find that the greatest leaders were always the greatest learners. Okay, the best students become the best mentors. My mentor always said that, I rose to the highest level because I was the best student he ever had, and ended up producing the most results. And if I look at my organizations over the years, it's almost always been the greatest students become the best mentors. And so early in your career, what you learn is more important than what you earn. Now, listen, I've said this a bunch throughout the inner circle. As I'm going through this, the reason why I'm teaching you this isn't just for you. Okay, it is for you, but it's also for other people. One of our inner circle members, Javi, he sent a video in and he talked about how when he got started with the inner circle, he had just one person in his group. And within the last, I think it was 2 weeks, just a few weeks into the inner circle, 18 people in his organization, because he started taking the knowledge that he learned here in the inner circle and he started applying it to the group. Okay, so you're in the inner circle. I want you to learn this, not just for you, but for others. And so this is something that I have said 1,000 times if I've said it once. Early in your career, what you learn is more important than what you earn. Everyone joins because they want to make money, but we have to put it in their mind, the importance of the learning process. And if you don't apply this mindset to your organization, it will be like people are just quitting, right? The hole in the bucket is really, really big. Okay. When I say the hole in the bucket, meaning you put a bunch of distributors in the bucket and they're just falling out as fast as they're coming in because they're not making money right away. So understand this. This is a huge point. People have to grow as an individual in order to make money. And if you're not building a personal development culture, people are going to fall out. You got to give them a reason to stay in. And in many cases, it's the personal growth that they're getting from you that keeps them in long enough. While they're not making money, it keeps them in long enough to where they grow as a person and then they start making some money. And so here's something, I've said this 1,000 times if I've said it once. If you want to build a really tall building, you got to dig a really deep foundation. Okay, write that down. Have that as part of your regular vocabulary as a leader in our profession. Okay, you must always stay in student mode no matter what level you're at. In fact, the higher level of leadership, the more important it is to remain a student, because a handful of reasons. Number one, if you're not feeding yourself, you can't feed your organization. I have to be the greatest learner within my organization because I've got to feed my organization. Okay. And so that's one of the reasons. The other reason is energetically, people know if you're not on your game. People know, they feel it. So maybe you think you can get away with not being consistent with your learning, but I'm telling you, that's an energy. It's a frequency that you transmit that you're not growing, and people feel it. And then they stop growing and they feel disconnected. So one of the things that makes people feel very connected to you is if you're on a huge growth curve. If you're on a growth curve, they get excited about being part of that growth curve because growth is one of the 6 basic human needs. Okay. So what are the actions for students? Now, some of you in the inner circle, you're in student mode. You haven't sponsored a lot of people, maybe a few, or maybe even none. Okay. So this is what you need to focus on. As a leader, no matter what level of leadership you're on, you need to know this, because this is the kind of thing that you need to make sure your students are focusing on. If they're not talented when it comes to production, they need to focus on this stuff. So attending corporate and team trainings. We need to be amazing at event promotion. It's part of the 7 basic key skills in network marketing. We'll talk about that. Learning from a specific mentor. And so what I encourage people to do is find someone that they resonate with. Okay. If you are in the student mode, and I would say this is true no matter what level of leadership you're on, is find a mentor that you resonate with and learn everything they got. Learn it all. So I'll just tell you, with my mentor, when I decided he was going to be my mentor, I came to every training he did. I asked him question after question. I took notes like crazy. I watched his presentation and took notes like crazy over the years. I mean, there's been a handful of different, network marketing speakers when I was coming up. And I would just be like, all right, I'm going to buy everything they have. I'm going to watch every single video they have. I'm going to learn everything they got. And I'm going to do that with one mentor, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one. And I'm going to take the best of everyone, so I'll be better than all of them. Okay. And so this is another lesson that I'm teaching my people all the time. Is I'm saying, listen, I want you to learn everything you can from me, everything you can from other leaders and other mentors, so that one day you'll be better than all of us. So I'm giving permission for people to grow beyond me. I want them to grow beyond me. One of the things that my mentor did with me, and I've done it to countless others over the years, is if I get that someone is like in awe, like you're going to have this as you grow in leadership, believe me, you're going to have people who are like in awe, like they meet you and they spontaneously start crying because of the impact you've made in their life. And they put you up on a pedestal. And I very quickly put my mentor up on a pedestal. He was the most talented network marketer I'd ever met. And I think he realized it. And so you want to develop this intuitive sense of when you see someone putting you on a pedestal, And like, it's one of the reasons why I'm always trying to be as relatable as I can, like a regular guy. But I'm saying this, it's a quote from David Schwartz, The Magic of Thinking Big. It's good to learn from the leader, observe him, study him, but never worship him. Always have a belief that you can go beyond, because second best thinkers are invariably second best doers. Okay, that's a message that I've taught so many times, because like, we all like being honored, we all like being respected, but if someone is like semi-worshiping you, it's unhealthy for them. Okay, and so I'm letting them know, look, I'm a regular guy. I've just been doing this a lot longer. Okay, and I'll tell people, like, when people are like, oh my God, you're so amazing, I go, here's the reality. If you do something for 25 years, eventually you're going to get good at it. I've just been doing it longer. Okay. So I'm always like, I'm not saying I'm not good or anything, right? I'm always going to be confident and own what's true. But the reality is I've just been doing it longer. Okay. You need to be internalizing company and upline recruiting, selling, and duplication systems. Okay. So learning the system, essentially, learning the products and the services, having product knowledge, becoming a product of the product, and creating your own testimony. This is something, leaders, that you need to do with new people as they join your company. Whatever your products or services, have them create a testimony. The faster they can create a testimony on the product, the better. I implement this as soon as possible. So if you've got whatever the kind of products is, it's like I am coaching my new people. I'm coaching the students on creating a testimony, because what happens is as soon as they get a testimony, they have a story to tell. And as we've said it a million times, facts tell, stories sell, right? We've heard it a million times, but it's very, very true. So I want them to get a story, because they're going to be way more effective. They're going to have more belief in the product when they create a testimony. Okay. Next is learning the business and product success stories. So learning the success stories of others. So it's great to have your own success story, but telling the stories of others. And so I'm talking about, like, if you're in a travel company, go on a trip, save some money, use whatever. If you have a booking engine where you book hotels and stuff, go book something and save some money, and you'll be able to tell that story forever. If you have weight loss products, lose some weight. I mean, I've done this in weight loss before. I lost weight, and it becomes very easy to sponsor others and gather customers, because, hey, it worked for me. If you've got skincare products, use them and talk about the benefits of the skincare product. Okay. So this is important. And it's a mistake that a lot of leaders make, is they're not encouraging their people to create their own testimony and to learn the testimonies of others. And so I'm talking about other people who maybe had been struggling with their weight issues, and now they've applied this and they had a lot of success, or they went on this trip, or they used this skincare, and I'm showing before and after pictures. Okay. So it's creating your own testimony and learning the testimonies of others. And the bigger the investment in your mind, the bigger the return. And so this is something I'm preaching all the time, is if you empty your wallet into your mind will fill up your wallet. And it is just true. If someone's not willing to invest in themselves, they're not willing to be successful in network marketing. It's the reality. And it's always, if I look at the $1 million earners, and I've got tons of friends who are $1 million earners in network marketing, and all of us we didn't negotiate the price. We invested in our success. And it's like, that's a quote that I want you using. If you empty your wallet into your mind will fill up your wallet. Ben Franklin said that. That should be part of what you're saying on a regular basis. What else? Another one that I say all the time, and I would encourage you guys to use this, is people invest thousands of dollars in fuel for their vehicle, but they invest virtually nothing in fuel for their most important asset, which is their mind. So, here's the whole thing. When you invest in your mind, that's something that no one can take from you. Okay. And so this is something that I have for 20 years built a culture around personal development. Part of becoming a powerful leader is creating a culture of personal growth. And if you're not it's going to be very difficult to grow people and get them to the point where they can actually go make money. Because we've all had, we've all heard success is attracted by the person that you become, or the law of leadership, the law of the lid by John Maxwell says that your income will never surpass your level of leadership. You'll hit upon this lid. So if you want to grow your income, grow your level of leadership, grow who you are as a person. How do you do that? It's investing in yourself. And so that has to be a message that we're promoting within our organizations. Okay. What are the actions for growth? Learning the 7 key skills. Okay. So make sure you guys know these. You need to know them like the back of your hand. You didn't invest thousands of dollars to join the inner circle to just get by. And it's sad. Like, here's the reality. I've spoken all over the world, generic events, my own organization, and these are the 7 key skills that it takes to get full-time in network marketing. But if I ask, I could ask crowds, how many of you can tell me the key skills in network marketing? Almost no one can tell me. You see why there's a lack of real education in network marketing. People need to be taught these things. And if they're not going to succeed. And there's been so many people I've mentored from, $5,000 a month to $50,000 a month. And they got to $5,000 a month and they didn't even know the key skills. They just grinded it out for so long. Eventually, they just kind of figured out what worked, and they did it the hard way. It doesn't have to be this hard if you just focus on getting these skills. Okay, so prospecting, finding people to talk to, inviting, presenting, following up and closing, getting a new person started, promoting events, training, all of these things. Now, the first 4 is primarily recruiting. So if you're a student, you're really focused on the first 4, okay? And then actions for growth are failing forward. Massive action equals massive skill. So we as leaders, we can teach the skills, but the only way our students are going to get the art is if they go out and do it. So we need to have a message of failing forward. We need to be talking about that, no one succeeds all the time. Go screw it up. One of the things I've said a million times is ignorance on fire is 1,000,000 times better than knowledge on ice. Go screw it up. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I had an organization growing like crazy. This was the first time I created a lot of success in network marketing. I built a team of 10,000 people in 2 years. My biggest organization, my biggest team, we were all new to network marketing. Like, no one had ever really crushed it in network marketing before. And so we were all fairly new. We didn't have like a bunch of network marketers. It was very organic. I was probably the most senior network marketer, and I had gone 5 years without a lot of success. And so the top leader got together with his leaders, and they decided that people were just burning their warm market. They were inviting and they were saying too much in the invitation. And so they implemented a new process. Anytime they enrolled someone, they made them take a vow of silence until they came to a fast start training where they could be properly taught on how to invite people the right way. Now, it sounds good logically, and I felt weird about it. I didn't talk about that with any of my other teams. I was like, I don't know about that. But they did it. And guess what happened? It absolutely killed their momentum. The whole organization died out. This was my biggest team. So quickly, they stopped doing that and they got some momentum again, but it absolutely killed the group because they were just overtraining their people. Okay, go screw it up. Next is producer. Okay, so a producer is when you're growing by addition. Okay, as a producer, if you're not a leader yet, this is kind of like having a poor paying job. Okay, you're enrolling people, but if you haven't figured out the duplication system, it's a low paying job because let's face it, the real money in network marketing is with duplication. Okay, but as a producer, this is when you have mastery of skills 1 through 4. So that's finding people to talk to, that's prospecting. Okay, it's inviting people to look at the opportunity, products or services. It's presenting, whether it's live or through a video or something like that, and then following up and closing. So this is when you get good at getting people in and recruiting. Now, you have not mastered the producer phase unless you've personally sponsored at least 30. Now, this is a message that I have preached 1,000 times. Okay, is I'm letting people know if you haven't sponsored 30 people, you're not a serious producer. You're not really serious about your business until you've put in 30. People need a target. They need a target. And what my mentor taught me is if you'll put in 30 fast, it'll turn into thousands. Now, can you put in 30 and have it not turn into thousands? Absolutely. And I'll show you how to dissect that problem in just a little bit. Part of the training here is how to troubleshoot the different levels on as far as why they stagnate. Okay. Now you must stay in producer mode until you're at the income level you want to retire at. And here's the warning is if you get out of producer mode, your income will typically decline unless you're a level 5 leader. Okay. And your income from the groups who don't have a leader producer is typically going to decline because your organization is always looking at you to determine if they can do it themselves. Okay. Leadership is one word, example. And if people don't see you setting the example, they don't go set the example themselves. Okay, people see better than they hear. And so when they see you building new teams, when they see you producing, they get motivated to go produce. So just understand that the biggest trap is getting into management mode. And I'll talk more about this, but the bottom line is one of the reasons why I have, seen so much growth in so many occasions is because I'm always preaching personal production, not just for the lower people, but for the leaders in my organization. I'm always talking about it. I'm always challenging people, okay, to up their personal production. Now, why do producers stagnate? And it's important to know this because as you grow as a leader and you have different people who are at these different levels of leadership, they're going to come to you frustrated. And just understand that this is arguably our number one job as leaders in network marketing is mentorship. Okay. Yes, we need to lead by example. Like rule number one, we got to go do the things, but understand that this is it's a relationship business. And every leader in your organization is going to struggle. And so what I want to do is equip you with tools to know how to troubleshoot people, okay, to help them advance to the next level. And so why do producers stagnate? Well, poor mastery of skills 5, 6, and 7, okay, which is getting new people started, promoting events, and training. And this was me before I got full-time in network marketing. I really learned the first 4 phases. I learned how to find people, invite them, present, close. I got mastery in those 4 areas. And I may have told you the story. I had 150 people in my group and I had personally sponsored 90. The others were almost all personally sponsored by one other guy who I was able to teach the first 4 levels. So basically he was a superstar salesman. He was a salesman for his dad's company, supply company. I recruited him and I taught him how to, use the system that I was doing. And we had no growth. Like we would personally sponsor people like crazy. We do contests among us and we were really good, but no growth because we didn't understand how to get new people started. Okay. We didn't promote events and we didn't train our people. Okay. So when someone's struggling, like if they're good at putting people in, but they're not getting any duplication, this is why. Okay. Why else? Well, they're only sponsoring others who are low on the leadership scale. So on a scale of 1 to 10, a 10 is someone with a ton of influence, lots of credibility. They know a lot of people. They got a willingness to work. They're sharp. They're ambitious, forward thinker. Like that would be a 10 on the scale. Now, very, very rare that someone's going to be a 10. Okay. So they're sponsoring 2s. They're sponsoring 1s. They're sponsoring 3s. They're sponsoring people who are not very motivated, people who, on the socioeconomic scale, they're on the lower level and like nothing bad against them. They're just, if you, are getting into a lot of people saying, oh, I don't have the money. That's a common objection. You're sponsoring a little bit too low on the leadership scale. Okay. So there's a process to turn a 2 into a 10. Okay. How do you turn a 2 into a 10? I'm going to give you a specific framework here that you can teach to your organization. Now understand that a couple different troubleshooting here, someone's producing, but they're not duplicating. Now, this isn't always the reason, but it's one of the reasons. Okay, they're sponsoring other people who are a 2, meaning they got no credibility with people in their life. They're not making a bunch of money. They're just barely getting by. They're not like super ambitious and motivated. They don't have like much charisma or much going on in their life. So how do you turn a 2 into a 10? If you notice someone's bringing a lot of people in, you need to bump it up. So you start asking them, who's the most successful person you know? Who's the most ambitious person you know? Okay. And you're getting into the group and they're saying, well, oh man, it's my uncle. He's a manager at this place or whatever. Great. Let's talk to your uncle. Okay. And then your uncle, let's say he's a 4. What are we doing with him? Hey, who's the most ambitious, successful person you know? Oh, so-and-so, they're an attorney or they're a doctor, they're whatever it is. Okay, great. Let's talk to them. Okay. This is how you turn a 2 into a 10 is you start asking the question, who's the most successful person you know? Who's the most ambitious person you know, and you start upping that leadership scale. Okay, lack of internal mastery. You can definitely argue that this is one of the biggest constraints for people all along the scale is if they have a lack of internal mastery, then they're going to struggle getting from one level to the next, from student to producer, producer to leader, leader to leader, producer. They're going to struggle. This is why the inner game needs to always be part of the training. And if I had to say, like in building an organization that grew to 1 million people in 7 years, 2.5 million people in 13 years, if I'm really honest with you guys, the training was way more inner game than tactical skills. Like I had basic tactical training, like fast start training, which I'm going to show you the basic format, the framework for a fast start training. Okay. These are the 4 things that like people need to get. And so we had those tactical things in place. We had like a lot of little tactical videos, but at the big Zoom events or the big live events, it was a lot more inner game training because that's where people need more growth. Typically is when you get the inner game dialed in, the tactical stuff becomes easy. Okay. Next is you're ineffective at transferring belief to others. Okay. So maybe you're good at getting people in, but they don't believe they can do it themselves. And so what we must do as leaders is getting good at transferring belief. Letting people know, hey, based on who you are, I know you can crush this. Believing in people more than they believe in themselves. Okay, so this is another one of the reasons, not always the reason, but again, one of the things to look for when you're troubleshooting yourself or your leaders. Next, personality and or ego conflicts. Okay, so someone, and I've seen this far too many cases where someone is a really good salesperson and they get them in, and then there's an ego issue, like, you make it out like you're God's gift to network marketing. Or there's just personality conflicts, right? You're pushing people versus leading people, borderline insulting, too red, aggressive, things like that, right? And so personality and ego conflicts can, definitely be a factor for stagnation at several different levels. Okay, what are the actions for growth? Okay, so if you or someone on your team is a producer, what do they need to focus on? Number 1 is being a student. No matter what level we're at, it's always being a student. Next, setting the bar high for your team. Always continuing to produce. So if you're a producer and you've gotten mastery in production, continue to do it. Again, management mode is a big reason for stagnation. Next is teaching your group how to master skills 1 through 4. Being aware of not trying to make chickens fly. Okay, so we got chickens and we have eagles. This is a message I've taught a ton. Some of you have seen my chickens and eagles story. If you haven't, you can go to YouTube and just Google search Matt Morris, chickens and eagles, and you'll see it, right? And so the whole thing is, most people in network marketing are not eagles. They're not leaders. They're chickens, right? So they get in and they're going to be product users. They might refer someone. They might not refer someone. And if you're constantly trying to make chickens fly, your chickens just quit. I have a guy, I did a chicken and eagle training one day, and I talked about like going all in and being the eagle and all this stuff. And guy got super motivated and goes to his team. He had 18 people on his team. no one doing anything. And he had a bit of an ego, so that was definitely a reason. It's not a guy that I worked directly. He was cross-line, and he came to me and he's like, dude, man, I made a huge mistake. I went to all 18 people in my group, and I was so fired up after your training. And I was like, look, man, there's chickens and eagles, and I only want to work with eagles. Eagles are the ones who come to every training. They're putting people in the business. They're serious about hitting the top rank. Are you a chicken or an eagle? And his whole group just quit. They were just like, I'm not dealing with you, right? So listen, we love on the chickens. We're there for the chickens. Like, I'm supportive of the chickens, right? And I don't mean to be demeaning. It's a good analogy, right? But what I'm always looking for is the eagles. I'm going to run with the eagles, and I'll be here for the chickens. And in many cases, the chicken will lead me to an eagle. So I'm loving on everyone. I'm supportive with everyone. Everyone is welcome. Okay. It's a feeling of inclusiveness, right? I honor you for showing up. If you don't do anything I've had people in my group for, 10 years, they've never done anything, but they show up. I'm so happy that they show up. I love them for showing up. And I'm like, every once in a while, it's like, hey, who do you know that we could show this to? I'll help you out. Sometimes the chicken leads you to an eagle. Okay. It's usually not your biggest leaders are usually not the people that you put in personally. It's through digging in. It's through loving on your team. Next, driving depth in a leg, and you're always looking for the eagle. So if you're a good producer, here's a concept that I really got. Like when I was only a good producer, I would like find people to talk to and I'd get them in. And then I'd go on to the next one. Find a new person, present, get them in. Find a new person, present, close them, get them in. But I wouldn't take the time to drive depth, is to be like, all right, let's do a game plan session. In a game plan session, it's like, all right, quick game. Like, why did you join? What do you really want to get out of this? Money ends in a why. Why do you want the money? Okay. And then like, all right, who do you know that we can go talk to right now? And letting them know, like, listen, not everyone you're going to talk to is going to say yes, right? We're only looking for the people who get excited about this. Our job isn't to enroll anyone. It's to show people what we're doing and collect a decision. That's it. There's going to be people who are like, man, that's awesome, I'm in. People who are like, it's not for me. People who it's bad timing. People who say, you're crazy for doing this. We don't care. We're just showing people, and we're looking for the ones who are ready to run. Okay. Now by digging in and saying, like, who do you know that we can go talk to? Who's your best friend? If you got stranded on the side of the road and you had 3 flat tires in the middle of the night, who would you call? If you need to move, who would you call to help you move? Like, these are the people we want to go show it to, and driving in depth, right? And so here's the reality is, as a producer, if you're effective at presenting and closing, then instead of finding a new person for yourself, when you put in a new person, present with their people. Okay. Because they're a student, they're new. They don't understand how to present, how to enroll, how to close. It's all new for them. And so you do it for them, and you show them how initially, driving depth. And again, build a leg 10 levels deep through sponsorship. You'll have a team that ideally will pay you forever. Okay. What else do you need to focus on? Mastering skills 5, 6, and 7. Skill number 5 is what? I'm asking you because I want you to know these like you know the back of your hand, because when you know these like the back of your hand, you're a professional. So what was 4? Following up and closing. 5 is getting a new person started. And then you've got promoting events, and then you have training. Okay. So focus on mastering skills 5, 6, and 7, getting people started, getting people to events, because when you get people to events, their belief goes up. When someone's belief goes up, their activity goes up. And then of course, your own training. Okay. So next level is leader. So leader is when you have several producers on the team. This is where the duplication starts happening. This is where you're in the trenches. You're providing the training, the charisma, the vision, edification. You're recognizing people like crazy. Your relationship building. You are the energetic hub of your organization. Okay. And it's where duplication happens, but this is not freedom. So many people like get to the point where, I've got, producers on my team. I've got financial freedom right now. No, you don't. Not really. You need to take yourself to the next level. You need to bring in other leaders before you can say you're really free. This is the hardest part in network marketing. This is where you are in the trenches. You are like digging in. You're constantly looking for the leader. Like, who's the next person that's going to rise up to replace me, essentially? Okay. As a leader, it creates growth when you're present. Okay. When you're away for any length of time, growth slows down and attrition outpaces retention and new growth. So you're the catalyst. You're the hub. You are the one really making things happen. You got producers, but the producers are good at putting them in, but maybe not good yet at keeping them in. You're building leadership with your producers. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay. So just understand there's a lot of work to do as a leader. Now it's cool. You got some money coming in. You got sales happening with or without you. People are joining your organization. You don't know who they are. So it's an exciting time. It's a ton of work. This is where the juice really happens. This is when you pour gas on the fire. This is when this is not the time to celebrate. This is the time to double down on your efforts. Okay. And sometimes, like, when I see someone who's just getting into the leader phase, they're like, what do I need to do now? Double your efforts. Okay. You've got some momentum, and understand that momentum is so much easier to keep than it is to rebuild. So when you get momentum, it's a gift. You don't want to lose it. You got to pour it in. Okay. There's going to be a season of sacrifice, right? Good communicator with emotional intelligence. This is where, like, as a leader, you're a good communicator. Okay. You're a good presenter. You're a good enroller. You're good at teaching like fast start trainings and things like that. But you have this emotional intelligence. And so you're not rubbing people the wrong way, right? You can be empathetic with people. Like, you can jive with people. It is a hard way. It's an art. This is where it really starts to become a little bit more art than just science. Okay. Now, why does a leader stagnate? Why do they stagnate? Poor mastery of skills 6 and 7. Okay. So you're the energetic hub of your organization. You don't want to be the energetic hub of your organization forever. Okay. You want to be, you are, but understand you don't want to be forever. So what happens is, if your company has an event culture, right? If you do events, maybe it's quarterly events. And I don't know what the event system is with your company, but you got to get people to these events, because when people come to the events, their belief increases. Their vision increases. They're able to hear from other people who are performing at high levels. And big decisions are made at big events. And so if your company has a convention, you got to get very effective at getting people to the event. And leaders who are the energetic hub, but they're not plugging people into another hub, eventually it's going to fizzle out. Like, you can only be the energetic hub for so long. Okay. So you want to be plugging people into other events, other Zooms. You want to this is where you got to really focus on your training abilities, like getting to the point where you can touch, move, and inspire people. And I'll go through more of that in another phase. Okay. Lack of internal mastery, lack of the inner game. Okay. This is always a constraint. Understand that the law of the lid, your income will never grow beyond who you are as a person. And so if you're stagnating at any level, focus on the inner game, focus on your vision, focus on your affirmations, focus on your purpose, and focus on stepping into a higher level of leadership than you're displaying right now. Next, getting out of personal production mode and into management mode is one of the biggest causes of stagnation. So as a leader, and I get this is a difficult level, it really is. Okay, because you're doing so much. You got people calling on you. You feel like you're sometimes being drained. It's like, oh my God, people are sucking my energy. And listen, that can be part of the game. Now, I'll tell you what my mentor told me, and what I've said a million times is, my job is to help you make a lot of money. Okay, training, mentoring, you name it. Your job is to be a pleasure to work with. Okay, so work with those who are a pleasure to work with. And if you're on a Zoom, say that. Don't be shy about saying that. Say, look, I want you guys to know that I love you. And My job is to help you make a lot of money. Your job is to be a joy to work with. Just like I'm a joy to work with my upline, name your upline. I'm a joy to work with them. That's what I want as well. And I promise I'll pour into you guys, and I will not quit on you. You'll quit on you before I'll quit on you. And something I've said so many cases, like if you're not traveling the beaches of the world with me in the next 5 years, it's not because I gave up on you. It's only because you gave up on you. Okay, I'm giving you these little sound bites that I've just, after 20 years of doing this, you learn what sinks in with people, and people come to you later. And I'm always asking like, hey, what was your biggest takeaway from the training? And I hear things like that. It was when you said this, right? And so I'm giving you guys a lot of the most powerful things. Things like if you want to build a really tall building, you got to dig a really deep foundation. That keeps people in. How else do you keep people in? Telling your story of struggle. So understand, there's really 3 parts of this, okay? There's your dream, and everyone comes in, they have a dream, okay? We want to get good at facilitating dream makers. There's a dream, there's an intense struggle, and then there's the prize. So it's not dream prize, it's dream, intense struggle, and then prize. And this is part of my regular teaching is dream, the struggle, the prize. You got to be willing to go through all 3 phases. It's not dream prize, it's dream, intense struggle, and then the prize. Okay. And believe me, the juice is worth the squeeze. Okay. These are regular things that I'm saying. Now, when you get out of personal production mode, when you get into management mode, your team notices. And understand this is a big leadership principle here. People are looking for a reason to quit. People are looking for a reason to justify quitting, justify their failure. Don't give them a reason to justify their failure. Always be there setting the example. Stay in personal production mode. I think I told you the story. I got on a call with a guy who made $10 million in Herbalife. And he said, my whole key was I never got out of personal production mode. I sponsored 700 people in 10 years, made $10 million. Okay. How did I build a team of 2.5 million people in 13 years? I stayed in personal production mode. I sponsored well over 500 people. Now, that's not a lot on a weekly basis. It's not a lot, but I kept starting new teams. And when you're always starting new teams, you're always building belief in your organization. Now, understand there's going to be a time where you're going to want to justify getting into management mode. I'm so busy. There's so much. People are sucking my time dry. They're calling on me like crazy. Stay in personal production mode. I'm not saying you need to be doing 5 a week every week, 2 or 3 a month. Like as you're advancing in leadership, you continue to put in 2, 3, 4 people every single month, continuing to put new groups in. Being a mother hen to your team. This is a major constraint. Okay. What do I mean by being a mother hen? It means you're enabling them. It means like, when someone's got an issue, you're like, oh, I'll call customer service for you. How does this work? Oh, let me show you. Like maybe there's a resource like, how does the compensation plan work? And instead of like sending them the compensation plan video, you spend an hour going through like, and you're there. Like it's good to be there for your team. But here's a rule is if you give people a crutch, they'll use it. And there is a fine line here. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong here. It's not that you're not being supportive to your team, but if you're giving someone a crutch, they'll use it. So here's my rule. If someone can do it for themselves, why would I do it? I cripple them if I do it. So I'm not going to call customer service for them. I'm not going to be mother hen. I'm going to be pushing people. And if you don't have an aggressive personality, it may be hard for you to push people. If you have more of like what I call a yellow personality, which is more of a supporter personality, it's hard not to mother hen your group because you want to be there for them. Understand that you want people to grow. You want people to become leaders themselves. And if you do everything for them, you cripple them. You cripple them. Okay. So don't cripple your organization by mother henning your group. Like always being like, you got to be super protective and like all this stuff. Like, listen, people are big boys and girls. And if you challenge them to rise as a leader, they will. If you don't challenge them to rise as a leader, they won't. I'm telling you my personal take. Now, take it with a grain of salt. I'd rather blow people out and blow them in. Like, I'd rather challenge them and have them step up than not challenge them at all and have them quit, even if it blows some people out. Now, take that with a grain of salt. You do what's right for you. You'll kind of figure it out. Okay. Next is a lack of recognition and edification. This is hogging the glory. And see, when you become a leader and all of a sudden you got several producers on your team, you've advanced in rank a few times, you're making some money, you're getting recognized on stage, you're being called out to do some trainings for other teams and for your upline, it feels really good. Beware of this trap of wanting to hog the glory. And I've seen leaders do this, and it has cost them so much money. It's a self-sabotage in every case, is when you want to be presenter man, presenter woman, I'm training man, I'm training woman. Like, I'm not going to be in the trenches, like sponsoring new people because I'm presenting all the time. I'm the one who does all the Zoom presentations. I do all the Zoom, when you're not pushing other people to present, when you're not pushing other people to do the trainings, and you're hogging the glory, then other people, they get pissed off and they don't want to recognize you. And I'll give you a secret. Like, I'm going to write a book one day called The Art and Science of Managing Egos in Network Marketing. Okay. It is so important as you advance in leadership. Here's the thing, is if you'll just give all the credit away, give it all away. Okay, so think of it as a hot potato. It's a recognition hot potato. So someone tosses you some edification, right? They build you up. Your job, it's not that you don't have to deny the edification, but you want to toss the hot potato back to someone else. And so when I'm getting recognized, and I get recognized a lot, right? And so it's like, oh, Matt, you're such an amazing trainer. And I go, and people will say, well, I'll do a training. And they'll be like, oh, the GOAT. I'm by no means a GOAT at all, like greatest of all time, not even close, right? But when that comes up, all I do, I say almost the same thing every time. I say, you know what, here's the reality, is when I have amazing leaders like John in my group, like Susie in my group, like so-and-so in my group, you end up getting way more recognition than you deserve. I'm the greatest example. You don't have to be that good if you have a lot of great people in your organization. So you're giving away the edification. So the leaders who hog the edification, who, like, I've had this, believe it or not, I had a leader in my team years ago, and he self-sabotaged. He ended up blowing himself out of the group. He would demand, like, when someone got on stage, he said, make sure you thank me on stage. Thank me on stage or I won't work with you. Like, it's crazy to think. And he created so much resentment. People didn't want to work with him. They didn't want to recognize him at all. And he got very little recognition, but he was a master producer, amazing. And he was great at tap rooting, like digging into people. He was great with training. He was great with amazing things, but he was a massive unhealthy ego. And I say unhealthy ego because part of an ego is good. If you've got an ego that you want to win, you want to be number one, you want to be a millionaire, I'm going to feed that ego. But if you're wanting to hog all the glory and not give it away, that's where it starts getting unhealthy. And so if you'll just understand that if you give away all the glory, you'll get so much in return because people will want to give it to you. Okay. And so this is something that you will need to troubleshoot your leaders. It's a topic that you want to train on. And most leaders in network marketing, even $1 million earners, they're just not aware of how to troubleshoot. And so they say things like, just go show more people. Just go show more people. Like, that's the answer for everything. That's not the answer for everything. And listen, I will even say it today. Like, if you're a leader and you have some stagnation, and I know you're good at promoting events and you're a good trainer, and I know you're like dialed in, you're creating a personal development culture, and you're not like a mother hen to your group, and you're good at edification, I know it's personal production. So I'll go and I'll say, listen, you need to go sponsor 5 more people fast. And so in some cases, showing more people is the answer, but it's not always the answer. You need to have a frame. You need to understand the framework of leadership so that you can troubleshoot and not only say, go show more people. Because if someone's got ego issues, or they're not promoting events, or they're not effective at training their group, the answer is not go show more people. Okay. What are the leader actions for growth? What do they need to focus on? Well, being a student, no matter what level you're on, is remaining a student. Number 2 is continuing to produce personally. I'm going to stay off my soapbox there. Mastering skills 6 and 7. So promoting events and training. Now let's dive into this, because as a leader, I want to equip you with a couple tools that will make you very effective when it comes to promoting events. Check the time real quick. Okay. I'm going to do a separate video, so this doesn't go over time, on a 10-point event promotion blueprint. And so you can take a screenshot if you want. I'm going to go through this on a separate video that I will get for you guys. But this blueprint will help you achieve mastery when it comes to event promotion. So I'll do another video for you. And this is an event to event tracking. I'm going to do another video with that, and I'll combine these two together so that you will have a resource so you can knock these out. Okay. Next is huddling up and team activities at major events. And so when you're doing big events, like maybe it's your company convention, if you're doing it live, you're getting together at a certain area. Hey, you're texting everyone, hey, when the event is over, meet here. And you're getting together, and at this huddle up, you're talking about, hey, what was your biggest takeaway for the day? Okay. Everyone is sharing their biggest takeaway. What are your goals coming out of this event? What are you committed to doing? And you're getting people to commit publicly to their goals and dreams. Now, if you're doing an event virtually, you do your own Zoom when the event ends. And so you're broadcasting this to your team. Like, hey, as soon as the event is over, we're getting on this Zoom link for our team huddle up. Okay, these are the things that you're doing as a leader. Understand it's a relationship business, and the value of any training is not just the training itself, it's what happens after the training. Okay. And so you want to add value. You're facilitating and you're training on the system of duplication. Okay. IPET and the 6 tiers of exposure. So what is IPET? Invite, present, enroll, and train. These are the 4 steps to duplication. We got to have, like, when you give people a framework, things become simple in their mind. And so I've trained on this 1,000 times. All we do is IPET. We invite people to see a presentation. Okay. I'll share with you the 6 tiers of exposures in a second. We ask people to enroll. And then once they're enrolled, we train them. And what do we train them on to do? The number 1 thing we train them to do is to invite people to see a presentation so we can enroll people and train them. Okay. Now here's the 6 tiers of exposure, from the highest enrollment rate to the lowest enrollment rate. The highest enrollment rate is what I call a big shot meeting. And so this is an example where you have a big shot. Maybe it's a multiple 6-figure a year, 7-figure per year earner, and they're coming into your market to do a presentation. Maybe it's a Zoom presentation, right? In person is going to have a higher enrollment ratio than virtual. It's just how it is. Okay. We've moved a lot to virtual, but understand that there is still a lot of people in network marketing crushing it, doing local events again. Okay. Local events, in-home presentations, getting people together. So if you have a local, maybe at a restaurant, I mean, there are points in my career where I had in, 50 cities around the world, every single night of the week, there's some type of event going on. Okay. Local event or an in-home presentation. A 2-on-1 presentation. Okay. It might be 2 people on a Zoom and 1 person as a prospect. A 1-on-1 presentation. You're sitting down with someone one-on-one. Number 5 would be a live Zoom presentation. So depending on the presenter, that could be number 4. Okay. Could be number 3, depending on the presenter. So these aren't 100% in the same order. And then 6 is sending a pre-recorded video or anything else. Okay, so these are the different 6 tiers of exposure. Now, I've enrolled people on all of these. What do I do a lot is if I'm meeting people on social media, if I'm not able to get them on the phone, I can send them a pre-recorded video. Just understand, if you're sending them pre-recorded video, that's the lowest enrollment rate. You're going to have to sort through a lot more people. That's why Trish and Ruth talked about getting on a Zoom with someone. Why do you get on a Zoom? You're going to have a higher enrollment ratio if there's that personal connection. Okay. Leader actions for growth, team communication and recognition. Okay, so you got WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, Facebook groups, whatever those are. Make sure you have a group. Okay, make sure you got a place where people come together. Maybe you're plugging into your upline. That's totally cool. Okay, ensuring your team is plugged into a weekly team call or event. If your team's not plugged into a weekly energetic hub other than you, you're not going to have as much growth. Now, if your upline doesn't do anything, you start it. So years ago, my first real success in network marketing, my upline was like the top guy in the company, and it was a new company, and that's just nothing he ever did. He just didn't do that, right? So I took it on myself. Every Monday night, I did a weekly leadership call. Everyone's invited. And on this leadership call, I would read books and I would take notes. And on the call, I would just read my notes basically. And people were like, oh my God, that was an amazing training. And I'm like, thank you. I appreciate it. Really, it was John Maxwell stuff or whoever I was reading that, that week. Okay. So make sure your team's plugged into a weekly team event. Okay. Because understand that people produce based on feelings. It's our job to motivate our team, to inspire our team, to increase the belief on our team. Okay. So we've got to facilitate that. The caution, again, is you can't only do those things. You also need to stay in personal production mode. Okay. Inviting big shots to further momentum. So maybe you got 100, 150 people on your team and you're the energetic hub and you're doing Zooms and all this, and you're inviting other people to come into your Zoom call. It might be cross-line leaders. It might be an upline leader, right? You're saying, hey, would you come, do our weekly leadership call? And, this is just something I've done, probably thousands of these in my career. For other teams, I do them for other teams, and then other leaders do them for my teams, okay? So inviting big shots to further momentum. So you can create momentum, but if you want to further momentum, that happens often from hearing an outside voice. Remember this, a prophet is never a prophet in his own land, okay? So your team, you're preaching a message all the time. You bring in an outside leader who says the same message that you've been preaching, and they act like you've never said it. Oh my God, you know what the leader said? They said this. And you're like, that's what I've been telling you. So sometimes they need to hear it from someone else. Okay. Mentoring producers to become leaders. So this is leadership growth accountability. This is a huge mistake, a massive mistake, is not pushing your leaders to grow, your producers to grow as leaders. So one of the reasons they stagnate is a lack of, internal game and a lack of understanding leadership. And so what I've done in so many cases is I'm like, hey, what book are you reading? Sometimes I'm giving them books. Hey, read this book. And it's John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, like so many great leadership books. Give them books or have them read the books and then ask them, hey, what'd you get out of the book? Okay, making sure they're taking notes, making sure they're rising as leaders. So it's leadership growth accountability with your producers so that they can develop into leaders. Edify, edify, edify with the focus on replacing yourself. Again, you're giving the credit away. You're doing this as much as possible publicly. Okay, this is a secret. So you're doing a Zoom call and you're edifying one of the producers on your team, talking about how great they are, what an amazing leader they are. Because if you're not giving it away, you're hogging the glory. Let's say it again. You may not think you're hogging the glory, but if you're not giving it away, you're hogging it. So give away the glory. And I'm not saying give away the glory to someone who's not doing anything. You're not like someone like just shows up. Like, I love them. I'm glad they show up, but I'm not edifying that person. I'm edifying the producer, the one who put in 5 personals in the last month. I'm talking about how amazing they are and what a talented presenter they are and what a talented leader they are. I'm building them up, not just to them, but for their people. They feel it more when you edify publicly. Next, you're creating a strong team culture. You're creating a culture of attending events. It might be Score in 24. That's helping brand new people who join your organization. We recognize the heck out of people who sponsor someone in their first 24 hours. It's a big deal. We celebrate it. Okay. How do you create a culture? Is you talk about it a lot. That's how culture is created. Repetition is the mother of all learning. Repetition is the mother of all learning. Why did I just say it twice? because repetition is the mother of all learning. So if you want to create a culture, talk about it a lot. It might be a culture of one big family. Okay, that's an important part of the culture for my organizations over the years. Why do people accept it and own it? Because I talk about it a lot. Why do people score in 24? Why do we make it a big deal when people sponsor someone in the first 24 hours? Because I talk about it a lot. We make it a big deal. And so be intentional with the culture you want to create. If your company does a lot of events, create a strong culture. Here's one of the #1 money-making cultures that you can have within your team. Is our team has the highest percentage of people attending events compared to any other team in the company. You create that culture, you are going to make a lot of money. Next is you're identifying 3 to 6 producers to rise up, to become leaders. And what does that do? That pushes you to leader producer. Again, from leader to leader producer to leader duplicator, you help 3 to 6 people get to the level you're at, you bump up to the next level. Now I'm going to talk about the key to winning. And this is something I heard from a mentor of mine who made hundreds of millions of dollars. And he said, the key to winning is desire. The person who wants to win the most is the one who's going to win. And, you know, Tony Robbins said there's no such thing as unmotivated people. There's only people with impotent dreams. And so we got to get good at turning the dream machine on. And leadership law #1 is the leader must have a dream larger than those they lead. You need to have the biggest dream. And because big dreamers inspire others to dream big dreams. So one of the things I'm talking about a lot publicly when I'm in front of my group, I'm talking about the yacht that I'm going to have. It's a 150-foot yacht with a helicopter landing pad. Okay, it's got a big, like most yachts have like a little hot tub that'll seat like 4 or 6 people. No, ours is going to have like 15 to 20 people fit in the hot tub. And so we're going to be sitting in the hot tub, drinking bottles of champagne, popping champagne as we're cruising through the Bahamas, looking at the stars, loving life. And, you know, this yacht is, it's actually, we're just going to cruise island to island. We're going to take like 3 weeks at a time. We'll get a group of our top leaders and we'll just cruise island to island. Okay. We're going to have our own massage therapist, our own private chef on the boat. We're going to have jet skis. So the jet skis come out off the sides and come down. We're going to have a big trampoline in the water, an inflatable trampoline. So we're bouncing up. And then the cool thing about the yacht is it's going to have a people launcher. Okay. And so imagine like these 2 bars, and it's kind of like a slingshot, but a slingshot for humans. And so you pull someone back and then you let them go and it launches them out into the water. Okay. So I tell this story and I tell all the little details about it. Why do I tell this story? Because I want other people to turn on their dream machine. I want people going, man, I want to hit the top ranks because I want to be on that yacht with them. I don't want to miss out on that. And so get good at talking about and painting a picture of your dreams. Okay. And I'm not up going like, oh, my dream is this, my dream is this. I'm telling a story that is inclusive, right? It's like, we're going to be doing this together. We're going to be doing these things together. And I'm just talking about it. I'm making it okay for them to dream big dreams. And so we know that Trisha, I think, or Ruth said it earlier. It's like people have stopped learning how to dream. They get stuck in this process of reality, a life of reality. Instead of what's possible, they're thinking about getting by. Okay. And so here's your assignment. So first is have 5 new conversations. Use what Trish and Ruth gave you. Have 5 conversations between this week and next week. 5 conversations, not hard. Okay. But get in and have those conversations. Get on the Zoom with 5 people. Okay. That may be a stretch for some of you. Stretch yourself and you'll understand it's a lot easier than you think it is. It's not actually so hard once you do it. And I am so proud of you. I've seen so many of you do different videos and so forth. And you were good. It was like your first video and you were good. I was like, man, this is awesome. If they're this good at one, imagine when they've done 50 of them. You're going to be masterful. Just understand, if you don't think you're good at this now, go do 50 of them. Go screw it up 50 times and you'll become really, really good. Next is you're going to write 50 bucket list items. This is where you turn on your dream machine. So you're writing 50 things of what are the things you want to have? What are the things you want to do? Where are the places in the world that you want to go? What are the things that you want to learn? What do you want to contribute? What do you want to give away? Okay. What do you want to do for someone else? And what happens invariably when I do this, I've done it live at a lot of events, and people go through like 20 things and they're like, I can't think of anything else. That's a lesson. If you get 10 or 20 in and you start running out of ideas, that's a lesson that you've let your dream machine like go idle for too long. Turn it on. See, what happens is when you have a lot of reasons to succeed, you're more likely to succeed. Desire. If desire is the key to winning, dreams are the fuel that fire desire. If you stoke that fire, we got to be disciplined in harnessing our desire. How do we do that? We focus on our dreams. We focus on our goals. We look at them regularly. I've got a bucket list with about 300 things on it. Okay. I've checked off over 100. I got over 300 more. I have a lot of dreams. And so I stay very motivated because I'm always focusing on my dreams. I want you focused on your dreams, and I want that to overflow into your group. Okay. So my friend, your assignment, 5 new conversations, 50 bucket list dreams. With your accountability group, you're going to share your biggest ahas and what you're committed to implementing. You're going to share your experience in contacting 5 people. You're going to share 10 of your bucket list dreams and why they're important to you. And see, when you share it in the group, people will come up with ideas and you'll be like, oh man, that's amazing. I'm adding that to my list. Okay. And so when you do this within your organization, maybe do a key to winning Zoom and give the message that I just gave you. Okay. Dreams are the fuel that fire desire. Like just use what I just said, right? Use it as your own, and have your team like on a Zoom, have them create their dreams and their bucket list items and share them. Your team will be more motivated. They'll take more action if you increase their dream, because that increases their desire, it increases their motivation. Actions follow feelings. There you go. Next, last thing, a recap of your daily power rituals. We have our gratitude stack. You're going to write it. You're going to feel it. You're going to give it away. We have our learning stack, which is 10 pages of a book or 30 minutes of an audio or video. You're writing down your biggest takeaway. And then your identity stack, where in the morning, doesn't take a lot of time, easy to do. Unfortunately, it's also easy not to do. You're going to read your core purpose, read your vision, read your core values, focus on one that you're going to live by for that day, and you're going to read your affirmations. At night, you're going to read your affirmations as questions. You're going to put your subconscious to work overnight to help your vision become reality. So my friends, this concludes week number 6. I know we covered a lot of information. There's so much that we want to share with you guys. I hope you are getting a tremendous amount of value. Definitely honor you guys for being here and putting your all into this. Those of you who are showing up, doing the work, it is going to pay off for you. And I am so excited and so proud of those of you who are not only doing the work, but it's also manifesting in results. And that's really why we're here. So God bless you guys. Good night. And we will see you on Thursday's Q&A call. Take care, everyone.